This is Tara Hutchison from the Antimony Tapes, and you are listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. This is Nasty Neal at Boston Underground Film Festival 2019 with Candice Nachman.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. It was very cool. You had, what was the block called?
The block was called Bucket of Truth.
Bucket of Truth. I like that.
Yeah.
And it was in love.
Yes.
Yes. So I know it's hard not to spoil someone's 2 minutes, but if you want to tell people what it's about.
Sure. So I think my log line for my little 2-minute film is a love story about giving your heart away and having somebody eat it, literally.
Right. Yeah. It's about the vulnerability of giving your heart to someone.
Yes.
They could literally play with it, or
yeah, they can play with it and hurt it and not take care of it.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. Is it inspired by anything?
You know, it's funny you say that because my husband often asks, like, if it's about him.
Right.
And I'm like, no. Yeah, no, there's not like a direct inspiration. I had a friend in undergrad, I went to art school, and he made like a single image that was of this boy giving his heart out of his chest to this girl. And that was always really like stuck with me, and I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was sort of the impetus for the story.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been making shorts?
So I got into UCLA Film School in the master's program in 2012.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I made my very first short in 2012. I finished the program in 2016, and ever since I've just been trying to undo all my learning from UCLA. Because I think I think it's an amazing program. There's incredible people, but I think they have a very particular way of making films, and I don't think I always fit within that mold. Like my first couple movies were like these weird sci-fi films, and my professors and stuff were sort of like, oh, maybe what if you explore this other kind of shit? And so then my thesis film and my subsequent films were much more like just classic dramas and like human-based stories, and I wasn't really happy with it. So this little crazy 2-minute film I made was a part of a competition called Straight 8, where you shoot on a single roll of Super 8 film, and all of your edits are done in camera. And yeah, the programmers for that festival like loved weird and surreal and wacky things, and I had this idea. And I made it without like censoring myself or thinking twice, and it was great.
Yeah. So how long is because I don't know, how long is a single roll for Super 8?
So a single roll, if you shoot at 18 frames a second, lasts about 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Oh, wow. So there's not much room for error.
There's not much room, yeah. And so what I had done is I had storyboarded everything, and with my years of experience in editing, I had a pretty good sense of like how long a shot would need to be on screen.
Yeah.
And so then once I storyboarded, I estimated I would be at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I felt pretty safe. And then I ended up coming in shorter.
I would think that's good to know, even if you do something longer, so you don't waste time or film so much where it makes it harder to edit. Or
yeah, absolutely. I find my editing experience just to be completely invaluable to me as a director. And I think it totally informs how I write a story, how I shoot a story on set, and just like thinking about that in game and thinking about, well, what is this actually going to be?
Right. Yeah. Now, what do you normally make? Because this is Underground Film Festival. Like, it's not all horror stuff, but it's all weird stuff. So, do you have like a genre preference? Or?
I don't really. I think I'm still exploring that. I mean, all my movies tend to have something about relationships, whether it's love relationships or father-daughter relationship. So that tends to be a recurring theme in my stories. But yeah, I don't really have like a genre I'm totally working in, but I find myself more and more in love with the weird and the surreal and the abstract, and like it feels more like home to me than anything else. So.
how about stuff you used to watch? What kind of stuff did you watch that made you want to become a filmmaker?
That's a great question. I think one of my most favorite films of all time is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah,
it's so good, and Kaufman's just like a god.
Yeah. And that's a movie that doesn't really fit in any genre,
right? Yeah. So it's a love story. It's a surrealist thing.
Yeah.
It's like an existential crisis film. So that's one of my favorites. But I also love Goodfellas and Dr. Strangelove, and I was definitely like raised on Kubrick. You know, my parents never stopped me from watching whatever I wanted. I think I remember watching Clockwork Orange at 13 years old.
Right? Yeah. It was funny at one of the parties here at Buff. They were talking about they weren't allowed to watch R-rated movies. They're 17. And then I finally was like, well, I don't know. I was watching Caligula when I was 7. I don't know. So, I don't relate. So no, my mom never cared what I watched.
Yeah.
And
which
I think that turned out okay. I don't know. Right? Yeah.
I think that's definitely why we're a little weird.
You're right. Yeah.
That's not so bad.
Yeah. So have they watched anything you made?
Yes, my parents have watched stuff I've made. And so I've been an artist since forever. I went to an art high school. My undergrad was in photography. And I don't think my parents ever really understood any of my art at all. Yeah. But once I got into filmmaking, I think that was so much more accessible to them. And that's something I love about filmmaking in general. Because I worked in gallery fine art and all this shit, but it just feels like this small community of people just patting themselves in the back, and the public doesn't care. You know, whereas you talk about filmmaking, you could find a homeless person on the street in LA and they could probably wax poetic about Fellini, you know? And that was something I loved about filmmaking, because to me, art is democratic. Art should be accessible to everyone. And I think filmmaking is that thing. Filmmaking and music, you know, is just people just can get it and access it, and they don't have to have fucking degrees to understand or enjoy. And
well, let's talk about genre. It's a pet peeve among people argue whatever, Jaws isn't horror, or alien sci-fi not horror. I don't know. It's I think it's totally pointless. Why does it even matter? But it does, I guess, matter to some people. If something doesn't fit in a genre, I guess sometimes it's hard to sell. Yeah. So do you ever think about that in something you make? Practically, I guess, if this doesn't fit somewhere.
Absolutely not. I'm with you. I find it also to be a pet peeve. Yeah. You know, I mean, I guess
if it's good, it's good.
Right. If it's good, it's good. And I guess I understand the point to have some sort of direction or umbrella for marketing and, to give an idea, but I don't think they should be hard and fast. And then people create all these crazy subgenres of subgenres.
Yeah, that some aren't even real. Because I know, if you don't like The Walking Dead, it's fine. But I know, and there's a lot of horror fans that say it's not horror. I even heard people say it was post-apocalyptic survival drama. So I was that's not a genre. You didn't go into the video store back in the day and go, oh yeah, I'm going to the post-apocalyptic survivalist.
I would love to see that sign. It'd be 100 characters long.
I'd like to see that store. It'd be 1,000 categories.
Yeah, that's
there's one movie in one category. And
yeah, I'm with you. I think that's a little nutso. And I also hate the term dramedy.
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm a drama can be funny and a comedy can be dramatic. So it's stupid that you're saying this.
Yeah, because I hear that too. Is if something has character development or something can't be horror, and it's well, that's just basic storytelling. I mean, so only horror is if it's just nonstop, murder. I mean, who would even want to watch that anyway? Right. At least not for more than a minute or something.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think at this point too, it's just how far all the genres have gone. The lines are so blurred that it's even more silly. You know, because maybe in the 70s you could plug in a horror film right in this little tape box, but now there's so many crazy things that are the comedy horror and surrealist horror and that shit. So it's who cares? Yeah. Just enjoy the movie.
So how did In Love end up at Buff? That's what the cool kids call Boston Underground Film Festival.
I want to be one of those cool kids. Right. So my film won the Straight A competition and it premiered in Cannes last year in 2018, which was amazing. And I went. It was awesome. And then once that festival, they had another short run program that they took it to some other cities. So as soon as it was released to me, I started researching where could I find a home for this? Yeah. Because in movies past, I didn't do that. I would just be like, I'm going to submit to Sundance. And it's dumb, you know? Like, I wasn't submitting Sundance material.
Right.
And so, I just had Googled and researched about, like, what are great festivals for people who are making this, like, weird kind of stuff. And Buff was, like, #1 hit, and everything I read just sounded amazing, and it was totally worth the entry fee. I'm glad I did it.
So again, a practical question, I guess. When you make a short film, so you can't like sell a 2-minute DVD or something.
Right.
So what are your intentions of, with the short? Is it to practice or show people what you can do in hopes to make something bigger? Or?
Yeah, I think more or less the latter. I have no intentions of ever making money. Like, that would just be silly. If anybody makes a short film and thinks they're going to make money, it's crazy. But I do think there is money to be made in a sort of indirect way. Like, coming to this festival has been great, meeting people like you, and meeting other people that, hopefully we can collaborate and make more stuff together, and then it's just expanding the portfolio and just, a place to have an expression of a thing I wanted to make.
I know it's totally different, but that's how I always look at the show, is if I ever made money, it would be cool or whatever, but I just enjoy doing it and the experiences you get from it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it'd be nice to make money off of every little artistic endeavor.
Yeah, right.
But hopefully someday, it's for the fingers crossed.
So how many movies did you watch here?
Let's see. I think I've seen 3 features, and then I went to 3 of the shorts blocks. Yeah.
Any standout?
I loved Moop.
Okay.
I thought that film was incredible, based on a true story that happened in Los Angeles about these, like, porn guys.
Yeah.
It was outstanding. The cinematography was amazing. The acting was incredible. It was funny. It was scary. It was great. I think that was my favorite. But I also saw Tone Deaf, and I really loved that too.
That was probably my favorite of the weekend so far. There was lines that made me laugh. LOL, as people say, but I really did LOL. So.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's great, and it's I don't even say it's funny because it's serious, but yet it's funny, and all the funny stuff is played very serious, which I like. So
the best comedy is taken seriously.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Yeah, but Mope was really good too, and it was, and that's another one where I think like if you just read what it's about, maybe you think, oh, that's not for me.
Right.
But it's not necessarily. It's about that, obviously, but it's not necessarily that's all you're watching.
Right.
It's a story, and it's very weird.
It was super weird.
Yeah.
Well, and what I love doing at festivals, because I've gone to like Telluride a number of times and stuff, is I try to not know anything about a movie I'm going to go see. It's really just I look at the schedule and I'm like, oh, that works out, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Because then, you just get to be like fully surprised by the experience and.
Yeah, I agree 100%. When possible, that's the best way to see any movie.
Yeah.
The big movies today, like if you watch a trailer, you pretty much know the whole thing.
Yeah, you know everything.
Yeah. And so if you can go in without knowing, it's a much cooler experience to me.
Yeah, I agree. I've often had this like fantasy of that if I get to make big features one day, that I want to release trailers that have nothing at all to do with like shoot an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
And like particularly I would love to make like a horror graphic crazy movie, but the trailer would be this like rom-com love story.
Right. Yeah.
And so then all the like people would drag their significant others like expecting this love story.
You're like trolling them with your movie. Yeah.
It's a long-term dream I have.
I fully support that. I like it a lot. So, have you ever been to Boston before?
No, I haven't. A month ago, I came to Salem for the first time. So my first time ever was in Massachusetts a month ago, but I didn't get to see the city. So it's been so nice being here and just being amongst like all these old buildings.
Yeah, it's a cool place just to walk around.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Especially like living in LA where everything's really new and like the oldest stuff we have.
It's true. It's not really a culture, I guess.
There is like
I know what you mean.
You get out of the West Side and there's like I love Los Angeles. People bash LA, but I could talk for an hour about how much LA is amazing. But even still, it's not a very old city.
Right.
So it's nice to come to the East Coast where there's shit standing from like the 1600s, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool.
What did you think of Salem?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Fully drank the Salem Kool-Aid.
Uh-huh.
Like, I went to all the witch museums.
Yeah.
I bought crystals. Like, yeah.
It's really cool because there's both like the kind of the touristy stuff, which is fun too.
Great.
And then there's like the actual old stuff and both of them are fun on a different level. I don't recommend going to Halloween. Like, it sounds it's cool, like, but it's really just like an army of people that you have to try to wade through. And
yeah, I'm good.
It's better to go and take your time and look around yourself.
Where I live in West Hollywood, they shut down like some 6 blocks of the street, and it's like a huge outdoor party, and like I think 50,000 people came last year, and it's total chaos. So if it's anything like that, I'm good. I don't need it.
Yeah. So where does In Love go from here, from both?
So this film also got selected in Bone Bats Film Festival.
I like the name.
Yeah, they're really cool. It's a Seattle-based film festival. It's a comedy horror film festival, and they also have a podcast that's associated.
Nice.
So yeah, everybody check out Bone Bat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll play, I believe, in April. I wish I had the date off the top of my head. I feel like it's April 12th, but don't quote me.
We'll look it up.
So yeah, and then I have some other festivals that I've submitted to, but I haven't heard back from. I'm trying to find a home for it in Los Angeles, so all my LA friends can see. Like, it's literally playing all over the world, but LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then right now it's also on Vimeo too. People
I was going to ask about that, like, you know, where people could find it who don't get to see it at because I know some people, they don't want to put it online.
Yeah.
Which I understand in a way, but then kind of like when the festival run's done, it just kind of disappears.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people, they don't put it online at first because some festivals like won't select it if it's based on that. But at this point, I'm like, it's out there. It's open. You can search for In Love on Vimeo, and if you see a girl with blood on her face and it's like a grainy film still, that's probably
which it does look very cool. I did, I haven't watched a lot of Super 8 stuff, but I like the kind of retro feel. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really love the medium. It's amazing.
Yeah. Are your previous films on there too, shorts? On Vimeo?
Yeah. If you find a Vimeo, they can also go to my website, which is CandiceNachman.com.
Okay.
And they can see all my stuff, good and bad.
Right. Is this the only Super 8 one?
I have Super 8 wedding films I've shot for clients.
Okay.
And then
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So like the retro feel.
It's so beautiful, and I really love doing it. And it's completely different, obviously, than this gory film
I hope so. I don't know. It's some wedding.
I'm throwing blood on the bride. So yeah, I have Super 8 wedding films I've done, and then there's a featured doc that I've been the director of photography on, and we've shot a bunch of stuff on Super 8. It's not released yet. It's still in post.
Okay.
So people have to wait for that.
All right.
Yeah, but I do have a black and white 16mm documentary I shot about a burlesque dancer, and that's on my website. It's called Miss Dakota. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So what are you working on next?
So I have 2 feature scripts that I'm writing. One's a biopic, and another one's based on my ridiculous, crazy childhood.
Okay.
So those are in the works and development, and then I have a short film we're in like pre-production on, and then hopefully I met with the director of Mope, Lucas, and we're gonna meet up in LA and talk about some projects and hopefully make something together.
Yeah, that's wild. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate talking to me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And have you back on sometime on the show unless you get too big to talk to me.
No, never. Seriously, never. Even if I somehow become crazy famous, dude, bash in the door. I will be. Yeah.
All right.
Come
very
in.
good. All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
This is Emma Dark, director of Season 8 and Salient -10, and you're listening to Without Your Head.